Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slanging in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige. Hey everyone, this is your girl Nicole Doss, and let me tell you something. I am really suffering from a little bit of a cold, so please excuse me and my voice if I don't sound like my normal self, if I'm not really, as animated as I usually am, but nonetheless, I am excited to be here and to be speaking with my fabulous podcasters. So here's the deal. I'm going to tell you like I always tell you, if you are in a space where you are listening to a podcast and you really like what you hear, or you are applying something, or you have an aha moment, make sure you tweet it and you at Prestige Nick, which is Prestige NIC, since I am Nicole Doss. Or if you're on Instagram and you want to just, give us a shout out, please do. And we are at Women of Prestige. So we're just going to jump right on into it because this is a Friday and I am really just tired from such a jam-packed week that I had. But I want to make sure that I spend some time with my lovely listeners while I have the chance. So Friday, we're going to talk a little bit about failures and why failing is a necessity in order for you to experience your breakthrough. I know all of you are like, what the heck did she just say? And I'm just being honest. And not just your breakthrough, but that breakthrough that's going to take you to your next level. I'm going to let that just marinate with you and resonate with your spirits. And I'll say that again. Failure is a necessity in order for you to experience success or your breakthrough. And more importantly, the breakthrough to your next level. And the reason why I say your breakthrough to your next level is because sometimes you can have these little mini breakthroughs, right? And the mini breakthrough is that breakthrough moment where you're like, aha, your aha moment, that epiphany that you have. But when you have this breakthrough moment to your next level, that's something that's a true game changer for you. It gives you a completely different perspective than what you had previously. And usually it's either around your business, your clientele, how you want to operate your business. And the reality is that you have to go through failure in order for you to have that breakthrough, game-changing, life-changing experience. And I want to share with you why. And of course, I have 3 reasons why. But before, we jump into that, I just want to kind of preface it with the first thing around this whole conversation around failure. And the first thing is that, apart from grades, because, if I tell a high school student that failure isn't real, they're either going to jump for joy because they're going to be like, yes, I'm going to tell my teachers that failure is not real, or they're going to look at you like you're crazy because they failed. They have not been able to do things that they may have wanted to do, like, I don't know, go to college or what have you. So, of course, failure in the academic realm is something that is very real. But when I talk to you about the school of the hard knocks, the school of life, failure does not exist. So we talk about failure, but the reality is when I tell you that failure is a necessity, I'm really doing this with air quotes, right? Because at the end of the day, failure this is going to lead us right into step 1 or my first tip. But failure is not really failure because you have to think about who's calling it that. At the end of the day, let me just put some perspective on you saints, right? So at the end of the day, if you think about it, the whole reason why you should be working your business is to operate in your purpose. And I had a really great conversation this week during our Boss Women meetup in Newark, New Jersey this past Wednesday. And, a lot of women were talking about not being able to find their purpose, not really knowing what their purpose is, being afraid of failing in the public eye. And it really became interesting to see how we really view winning in this game of being an entrepreneur. And, winning becomes so objective, meaning, it becomes the thing that not objective, it's actually subjective. So it becomes a thing that, when you think your followers are going to judge based on what they see as winning, and not really an internal conversation about what winning really is. And if I were to share what my vision or version of winning is for me, first and foremost is to make sure that my family is taken care of. So that means that my babies are good, that my two little girls are good. They eat, they have clothes on their backs, they have a warm home where both mommy and daddy is in the home, making sure that they don't have to worry about anything, and that they're safe, they feel safe. Like, that's very important to me. And that they feel empowered, that they feel that they know that they can come to me and my husband for any of their needs. Maybe not their wants, but they can come to me for their needs. As a wife, it's really important for me to make sure that I have a successful marriage, and that I am, even though sometimes my husband makes me want to just, scream. But the reality is, this is my life journey with my husband, and I don't want it any other way. And if there's growing pains that I need to go through, I'm going to go through it with him and him only, because everybody knows Nicole just loves herself some Tommy Doss. So the third thing for me is to then really have a business that's my livelihood. And I don't say the word livelihood and take that word lightly. And I think when people talk about livelihood, they think of it as a means to survive. So like, I want it to that I can leave my job. Like, nah, it's not really enough for me. Because if I really just wanted it to sustain an income, if I really just wanted to replace income of my job, then I could just go, in all honesty, I could just go and get another job with another organization for a lot more money. That's just the honest to God truth. But when I think about my livelihood, it's not about just merely surviving, and especially when I tie it to a business that I've created. When I think about my livelihood, I think about me being used by God to serve his people. People who are lost, don't know how to start their business, not really feeling fulfilled, not feeling like they're of value. Here's the deal. You want to paper chase and climb a corporate ladder. Because at the end of the day, if you feel fulfilled or not, nobody who is telling you to work at your 9 to 5 cares if you feel fulfilled. But you better do these tasks so you can get this paper, right? So if you want to paper chase, then do yourself a favor and do not focus on building a business to paper chase, because you can paper chase at a job and go through way less heartache, way less financial, hardships, and way less just frustrations altogether. So when I think about my livelihood, I think about it in a space where I am living my life on purpose, where I am using God's gifts and talents to help people thrive, specifically women business owners who have started their business and they have no clue what to do next. That is why I want this to be my livelihood, because every day that I get up and that I work Prestige, I want to feel like I am helping someone progress. Now, through that, I would love to be able to make a salary that allows me to do the things that I shared that I would like to do as a mother and a wife. Because if I'm stressed out about money, I'm not going to be the greatest wife, right? I'm going to nitpick and nag and get on his nerves, and ultimately get on mine too, because I don't really like a lot of nitpicking and nagging. So, and then if I can't do the things that I said as a mother, where I make sure that my daughters are taken care of, they have food on the table, they have clothes, I can put that all on my husband, but at the end of the day, what one person wants to have all of the burden of taking care of family when ultimately I am here to be his helpmate? So when I think about my livelihood tied to my business, it's so much more than saying I want to be able to take some Instagram pictures to make people think that I am doing things that are superficial, meaning that I have this type of car, I have this type of lifestyle, I travel and live this type of life. I want to be a transparent person through and through. I want to help people. And ultimately, on a larger scale, from a social impact piece of it, I want women entrepreneurs to have the right tools in their hands so that we can begin to close the gap of I guess more of close the gap of just this, I don't know. I want to say this, I think it's an inadequate amount of resources that we currently have available to women entrepreneurs, either because they just don't know, they don't have the resources, or because ceilings have been created to kind of keep women out. So I want to make sure that we have those resources so that we can be successful, and that success is only defined by ourselves, but also anchored in purpose, which to me is driven by the divine and not by man. So for me, speaking for me unapologetically, for me, my purpose is given to me through God. And I want to be able to use my talent and my gifts, making sure I'm always anchored to what He wants me to do. So that's very important to me. And that's why fame, people who like to worship me, or you know what, and worship can come through admiration, right? When it's obsessive or really just intense admiration, you have to be careful, because at that point you are idolizing a false god. And I think that's really important for people to understand. So when you strip yourself of trying to be something that you're not, when you are someone who understands that your success is defined by you and your God alone and no other external people or things, when you realize that your purpose is going to be connected to success wins, as well as some tests and some trials, you really don't care who sees it, because the focus is so different. Like, my focus is not focused on what people think of me. My focus is on, am I doing the right work? And when I'm going through tests and when I'm going through trials, my focus, even at that point, isn't who thought that I failed. My focus is, what lesson am I supposed to learn from this failure so that I can apply it to the next go round? Because when something is your purpose, you don't stop just because something happened that was not in alignment with what your expectation was. So that really brings us to number one. And I know that, look, 12 minutes and 37 seconds, and I was supposed to have been on number one, but hopefully even that precept two, or preliminary thought into what I want to talk about in regarding failures helped you. So for me, number one, failures are not failures, right? It's all about expectations. So when we talk about your business is anchored in your purpose. Your purpose should be something that is given to you by your divine being. So for me, it's God, it's Jesus Christ, it's the Holy Spirit, it's the Holy Trinity. So I pray and meditate on the word a lot when I think about my business and my brand. And so when we start talking about expectations usually for me are not things that are given to me by God. Expectations for me are things that myself, the person, they're very egocentric, right? When I begin to think about expectations, because they're desires of my heart, things that I want to transpire, and sometimes those wants are not really aligned with what needs to happen in order for you to transcend into your breakthrough or into your next level. So let me say that one more time. Sometimes your wants and your desires are not aligned with what needs to happen, okay, in order for you to transcend into where you need to be. Understand that when you create expectations, you are in a current state. Now, here's the thing. God knows all, right? He knows where you are going to be going. He has created you. Your destiny has been created while you were in the womb, right? So you have been predestined for greatness. I believe everyone has been predestined for greatness. So when I talk to you about expectation and the egocentric matter that's tied to expectation, and then there's this being all-knowing who knows where you're supposed to go, and knows the future, and your expectation is rooted in what you know at that moment, at that time, sometimes your expectations and what is going to come are off. It's completely off basis, off kilter. Okay? So let me give you a perfect example. When I started the Prestige Society, I did not imagine in a million years that the Prestige Society was going to be what it is today. I knew that it was going to be a networking group for women entrepreneurs. I knew in my heart that it was going to be big. I just didn't know how big. I just knew in my heart it was going to be big, but no real things around it. So my expectation for the end of 2018, actually the end of 2017, was to have 100 women in the Prestige Society. And when I started to see that not only were we not getting additional people at that time, so maybe it was like November, December of 2017, but then we were in fact losing members, I became very frustrated because I felt like it was a failure because there were efforts that I was kind of doing, but I also know that I was being completely distracted by doing certain things that were not aligned with my purpose, but making money. See what happens when you paper chase? But also, I would have never thought in a million years, I would have never thought in that moment. So let me even go back. So maybe it was around October, maybe it was September, where I was sitting in a vision board party, and 100 members was actually one of the things that I put onto my vision board. So in my mind, I see it, I speak it, I act in that space, it shall be done, right? So sometimes no, because God's a sovereign God. So everything that you say sometimes will not transpire, especially if there's something else that needs to happen in order for you to transcend into your next level. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was, when I look back now, because perspective is everything. When you can look back, it is eye-opening. So when I look back at September, sitting, pasting my little 100 and all these different ladies on my vision board, because I was going to have my 100 members, one of the things that I find really interesting is the fact that I had no clue that in April, I was going to completely be moved to change the entire way that I operate the Prestige brand, and that it would cause me to actually close membership and to change the platform altogether, where women aren't directly enrolling into the Prestige Society, but they're enrolling into the Boss Academy, and then upon graduation, they're able to become part of the alumni network known as the Prestige Society. So I never would have known that. And this is a space where we definitely had to really grow for two reasons. One, me as a business owner, it was something I really needed to become very clear in the tangible results that women were getting when they touch the Prestige brand. And being able to roll up the Prestige Academy allows that. And then the second thing was I wanted to increase the value, not the monetary value, but the experiential value from the members of the alumni network. I wanted to increase that value because what I've been saying is, who would you rather network with? Because our motto in the Prestige Society is, I'm not successful unless my sister is successful. But who would you rather share that model with? The person who is confident and understands her business and is in a position to be able to connect you with people who can help you? Or the woman who's stuck, confused, and not really sure what she's going to do with her business, and as she begins to network, becomes even more confused because there's really no foundation that she has that she's building on? You want to network with that person, or you want to network with the person who's going to be the graduate of the Boss Academy? And 9 times out of 10, whenever I ask women that, they always say, well, I want to network with the woman who's part of the Boss Academy. So when I started getting closer to this deadline that I had for myself for the 100 members, I became so frustrated, like, ugh. But then, because I always practice what I preach, I just kind of figured something else must be in store. But never in a million years did I think that it was going to be what it is today. But I needed to go through that. And thankful enough, I did not see it really as a failure. Like maybe like for 0.5 seconds, and I was like, okay, get over yourself. Something must be moving. So just be aligned and open and aware to hear what it is that you're being moved into so that you can move and operate in that space. And literally didn't happen until probably about 4 or 5 months later. But that quote unquote failure had to happen. But because I only had the information that I had at that time in September, and because I only had the experiences that I've had in September, see, I didn't even go to the event that began to open my eyes until March. I did not experience the woman who then gave me my aha moment until early April. So there's no way that I had the skill set, the knowledge, the perceptions that were necessary to begin me to move into this space where I had to think differently that was going to be the catalyst for my game-changing breakthrough. Do you understand that? And so September, I had my frame of reference of September at that time. I did not have the perception. I did not have the skill set. I did not attend the class or the workshop. I did not meet the people that were going to help in becoming this catalyst to help me move into this space. So when you're sitting somewhere and you're planning something and you're setting these expectations of what this thing will look like, and even though I do believe in visualization, I believe in visualization for a very different reason. And it's to tap into creativity and tap into motivation and moving you to the next step so that you can get moving. But what I do understand is that when you are practicing visualization, when you are practicing and creating these expectations for yourself, that is an egocentric exercise. That means that you are at the core of what's driving what you are saying will be. And at the end of the day, there are other things in motion. There are things that are happening in the background that are in your favor for your good, that you have no idea that's happening. And because of that, that may cause you to feel like you are failing because you don't even realize what's happening in the background. You have no idea the person that you're about to meet. You have no idea about that meeting that you're about to have because in this moment, you have the skills and the capabilities that are required for you to be successful in that moment. But when you experience that failure, quote unquote, realize that it's not a failure. It is a misalignment of your expectation of what will be in comparison to what really is. That's all it is. Your expectations were not met. It's not a failure. And that's why you should not look to anyone on the outside to further confirm whether or not you are failing. How do they know? Have they had conversations with God about what your journey will be? Unless they are a prophet. Come on. So... And trust me, 9 times out of 10, they are not. There are very few people who have prophetic moments who will prophesize in your life. And you know who those people are. And you know their skill sets. And when people start saying things and questioning things, understand that that's their own self-doubt that they're carrying on themselves. Anchoring your business in your purpose will allow you to be able to move through these misalignments very freely. Because what you realize is, okay, well, I thought this was going to happen. Because you do have expectations, right? And sometimes when I get really excited about things, I go into it and people think I'm crazy because they'll be like, oh my God, Nicole, how do you feel? I'm like, no expectations. I have no expectations. What will be, will be. It will happen the way it's supposed to happen. And for that, I am over the moon. For that alone, I am beyond excited. Because when we start setting up these expectations that are egocentric, which means that you are at the center of it and there's no other divine being who is really guiding that activity, it's just you and you alone, you are going to set yourself up for failure. Now, sometimes things exceed your expectations because, we can have some pretty low standards. Well, I don't know how this is going to be. And then you're super excited, oh my gosh, right? But why is it that misalignment is fine, but any other misalignment is horrible? It's a misalignment. Regardless if it's a great misalignment or a negative misalignment, it's still just a misalignment. What you thought was going to happen and what actually occurred, they're not the same. So treat it that way. Whenever things are misalignment, say, okay, what will be, will be. What will be, will be. And it all needs to happen in order for me to have the new skill sets, to have the new insight that is required for me to break through. So number 2, preparation for your next level. Here we go. Sometimes when we have this misalignment, sometimes when the misalignment is happening in a space that feels oh so negative, what begins to transpire is that we allow negative energy to take over our entire thought process. We begin to overthink why we quote unquote failed. We begin to think about the fact that, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. We then begin to have self-doubt. We then begin to allow insecurities that have been planted into who we are since we were little itty bitty children to now come these full-grown monsters to take over the way that we think. It's horrible, horrible exercise to put yourself through. Because what I'm going to ask you to do at this moment is I want you to look at this very differently. When misalignment happens, when you have, and we're just going to call it misalignment, right? Because if I say to yourself like, oh, exceeds expectations or did not exceed expectation, you're going to just look at it as negative and positive. But let's just look at it for what it really is without putting an adjective to it. It just is misaligned expectations. So when you have misaligned expectations, there's either a celebration that should occur or a learning moment that should occur. Celebration, and honestly, let's just be honest. Let's celebrate in both times, in both scenarios. So the first thing is, and let me explain to you why. And I'll give you an example. So I recently had an event, not recently, I had an event in 2017 called the Phenomenal Woman Gala. It was a black tie gala, and the whole time I was completely nervous. Literally 3 weeks before the event, I was going to cancel the event because I think I had like all of maybe like 30 tickets sold. The event was supposed to have over 100 people in the building, and it was, beautiful gowns, black tie, formal eating, dining, you had to pick your plates beforehand. So it was a very, cool type of shindig. And lo and behold, I was just like, holy crap. I do not believe that we are going to be able to really be successful, because I was fearful that, like I said, 3 weeks before the event, three people bought tickets. And I began to really doubt myself. And one of my good friends who knows really how I coach people through hard times, she began to try to coach me. And it was absolutely cute because she was trying to ask open-ended questions without wavering or causing me to kind of like know her opinion about what I should do, because really her opinion was that I should cancel the event. And so through her trying to coach me in that moment, what we realized is that regardless of how many people show up, I had to remember why I was doing this in the first place. And the reason why I was doing this gala was because I wanted to create a platform where women were giving themselves to the community, whether they were teaching people, whether they were giving back to the community, whether they were impacting certain demographics. I wanted to be able to create a platform where those individuals were being identified and where they were being celebrated, because a lot of times we do not see the low man on the totem pole doing all this work. And these women, by the way, are like nobody's little man on the totem pole. But at the same time, they don't have a national syndicated audience that knows that they're here. They're not celebrities by any shape, way, or form. But nonetheless, their impact is huge. And I wanted this platform where it was the community that came out that was able to say, these are the women that we want you to recognize. And so we had so many people who were nominated. We had an online website where people were nominating women, where then they began to vote on the women that they wanted to win. And then from there, my planning committee identified who was going to actually win. So I said, you know what? At the end of the day, I don't care who was in there. I don't care if we're in this huge, beautiful room and only the people who came to support the honorees actually show. I am going to stay true to my purpose. And let me tell you, because I'm not the best planner, we not only sold tickets, but we sold out where like I literally did not have a plate. Like we sold out over one. I think I didn't like include myself in the planning. So because I did not include myself, I literally did not have a chair. I did not have a plate. So I did not eat all the wonderful food that everyone enjoyed. So with that, it was, if I would have, if I would have allowed my self-doubt to really take control, I would have canceled the event. But when things were still looking bleak, I found joy in what I thought was going to be a perceived failure. But then, of course, when we were able to sell out, I was like, hallelujah, thank you so much for this opportunity. So I want you to be able to be in a space where you can really be able to celebrate whether things are working really well or whether things are not working well, but recognizing it's just misaligned expectation. Okay? So, and like I know some personal stories that I don't care to share, but like where I gave praise for things like in my darkest moments, like praising God, thanking God, and being thankful for what I have at that moment, although I was in a situation that felt like it was very traumatizing to me. So there are ways for you to not celebrate, but give thanks and be grateful in moments where there are misaligned expectations, whether they are good or a bad misaligned expectation. So the first thing I want you to do is to celebrate or give thanks, give gratitude when you notice that there is an expectation that is misaligned. Okay. But the next thing I want you to do is I want you to understand that you are experiencing this because there's something else you need to learn in order for you to go into your next level. Now, here's the deal. It does not mean you're going to learn it right there in that second, that moment, or that minute. So what you need to do is you need to pray and meditate for awareness. You need to pray and meditate for your mind, your body, your soul to be open to whatever it is that you are about to experience so that you don't miss that lesson. You want to be able to have an open heart so that you are able to take in whatever lessons you were supposed to learn so that you're able to apply those lessons to your next level. When you allow negative feelings to take over how you feel, what ends up happening is that then you miss the lesson and you then are no longer being prepared for your next level. You were going to step into your next level not doing so well. Once again, experiencing misaligned expectations. So definitely make sure that you can understand that when you have those misaligned expectations, that's a moment for preparation, a moment for learning, a moment for reflection so that you can make it to the next level. The third thing, I really want you to understand the humility that's necessary when you go through misaligned expectations. I don't know why sometimes we get our underwear in a bunch because we feel like we shouldn't fail. At the end of the day, failure will happen because it is a necessity for you to go to your next level. And failure is not a bad thing. And once again, it's not even failure. I don't even like to call it that. That's like the F word. Like, don't say that word. Because at the end of the day, it is just about a misalignment with your expectation. And we already identified and beat this thing down like the dead horse that it is, that when you start setting expectations, that is an egocentric experience, an egocentric activity. So when you're able to be humble, what you're allowing yourself to do is the freedom to explore without fearing what others think, without fearing another set of expectations, whether they're going to be a positive or a negative outcome. When you go into your next level with humility and understanding that it's all about an alignment or a misalignment of expectations, you don't even really care other than, how you are staying obedient and committed to the purpose and your intentions around that. And then also how others will be blessed by your efforts. Like that becomes the focus. Like that becomes the thing that like drives this tunnel vision where there's like no room for fear. And please don't get it wrong. Like fear will sneak in and you'll be like, oh my gosh, what if I do this? Oh my gosh, we're going to spend all this money. It's going to be this huge failure. Everybody's going to see it. They're going to laugh at me. The reality is when you're able to place your brand, your business, and anchor it in a space of purpose, there is this almost like missionary work that your business becomes, where it's like you have to do this because your job is to bless others with your gifts and your talents. And there are people who are waiting on your gifts and your talents, and there's people out there who want to learn about how they can utilize your brand for whatever reason. How can they leverage it? How can they be a part of it? And they're waiting on you. They are waiting on you. And when you allow the enemy to sneak in with fear, then what happens is you begin to pull back. You pull back on what you do. You pull back on your efforts. You pull back on your launch date. You pull back on your services. You pull back on your talents. You pull back on your skills. You pull back because you are fearful that people will judge you. You pull back because you know that someone in the corner knew that you couldn't do it and you're afraid to say, man, they were right. But when you begin focus on the fact that you are anchoring your business on your purpose, you don't care about the naysayers. You don't even see them. People say that you should have haters because that's how you know you are successful. But let me tell you a thing or two. I don't even know if I have haters because they are not in my purview. They are not consequential to the success of my brand. They are inconsequential. They are not important. They are irrelevant because who I am here for are for the women who have businesses who want to pay it forward as well. They are going to take the gifts that I provide to them and they are going to create a cycle of paying it forward. And we will build villages and we will build tribes of women entrepreneurs who pay it forward because that is how we win. So I don't have time to worry about fear, which is a product of the enemy. I don't have time to wonder if it's going to work or not. All I know is that it's my job to get to work. It is my job to execute on a plan. And if it doesn't work, it is my job to listen and to be open and to be obedient when God speaks to my soul so I understand what did I do wrong and how do I change it and what do I need to do next time. And that's what I want for you. Because what you don't realize is that when you allow failure to seep in, it allows, even the ideology of failure, when you allow the ideology of failure to seep into your mind, a number of things begin to transform. Self-doubt, pity. You begin to sit on the idea. I mean, I can't listen. I'm such an impulsive person. I get an idea and I just go. That it really shocks me. Like jaw dropping. Like, did you just say you sat on that idea for 10 years? Like people sit on ideas for 10 years. I didn't think that was a real thing. That's a real thing. People sit on an idea for 5 years. People sit on an idea for 3 years. Like if God put an idea in your spirit, if you prayed for this very thing, then why is it that you don't feel committed to taking action? That's something that is absolutely important. So for me, I feel that if I can help you reshift the way you think about this thing that people are programming into your mind that's called failure, then I am helping you realize that you are on your journey to your most awesome breakthrough. And the cool thing about this most awesome breakthrough is that it is going to be here time and time again. You are going to experience multiple game-changing breakthroughs because you will always be evolving and always stepping one more level up into your greatness, into your abundant life, into your purpose. And for that, that is something to rejoice. That is something to be so excited about. So with that, ladies, I'm going to say have an awesome, wonderful, fabulous weekend. This is Friday. Hey. And I hope that this word helped you guys. I hope it gave you the motivation necessary in order for you to start feeling liberated and free to step into your greatness. All right, guys, this is your girl, Nicole Dawes. Have an awesome, wonderful, and phenomenal day. Bye.